Welcome to Empirical Pod. I'm your host, Tim Day. Thank you so much for continuing this journey with me, where I get to sit and talk to all my favorite people. You guys remember the drill. Don't forget to like, follow, share, subscribe. Let's get into today's episode. Man, so last episode I was criticizing myself because everybody I have on is married now and has a new name.
Okay.
And I never call them by their new name. It's not a matter of disrespect, but it's just insane to me how many girls I know that are married now.
Yeah.
So we're here with Kristen Martin, who is Kristen Desler.
Yeah. No one calls me, I haven't heard Kristen Martin in so long.
I feel like not for nothing, but it was almost like a switch when you got married, where you just...
That's what happened.
The rest of us couldn't wait to just leave us in the dust.
Well, ironically, I didn't change my name for a year after our marriage because...
Yeah, so it was a gradual year to kind of phase this out. That's awesome.
So, you know.
It's a cool name too, actually, Desler.
Well, everyone in my husband's English and everyone in his family says Desler.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So I actually say my own name wrong.
Desler?
I usually say Desler, yeah.
But it's like a Z, Desler?
Yeah.
It's the same.
Less cool, I don't know. I just rolls off the tongue better for me, so.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite things, we're starting way ahead. One of my favorite things is the various points that kind of come back into your life while you've been married, and you would have this English enunciation to your
I don't like
word.
That.
It's so funny though.
I think
I haven't
it's
seen it in
very
a long
easy
time.
for people to make fun of that, but it's so hard when you're with someone
Well,
every,
you're
it's
talking
like the
to just
weirdest
him every
thing.
day.
Yeah, it's so weird. Well, during COVID, I think especially, I noticed it.
Not for nothing, especially people that have a unique dialect.
Yeah.
When I would hang out with Dan T too much, I'll start talking like Dan T.
Yeah.
If I hang out with Jason too much, I'll start talking like Jason. I think it's natural. It's just funny to me.
Oh, yeah.
To be like, listen to this asshole.
Well, because English is also the most pretentious. It's okay, anything else, but if I'm just all of a sudden start,
Well, that's literally my favorite part because all it is just a reflection to a question at the end of a sentence.
That's right.
That's all it is. It's is that really what you're going to do today?
Yeah, which is funny because I don't know that Dan does that with his voice.
That's just your interpretation of English?
Maybe. It's just how I, reflect it back or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. Yeah.
I love that. But we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
Let's, did you start in Oswego?
Yeah.
You've been there your whole life.
I was born in Hinsdale.
But you didn't live there. You were just born in that hospital?
No, I was born in Hinsdale Hospital. My parents lived in Naperville at the time. So our first, family home was in Naperville, but I was only there, I think, less than a year. And then we moved to Oswego. So they were maybe building the house in Oswego when I was born.
It's only that one house in Oswego, right?
Yeah.
Which your dad designed.
He did, yeah.
That house is amazing.
He's has always been an aspiring architect, as am I. He's actually very talented, though, and has designed a couple of houses, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing, too, because that was out, where the Stanleys lived, too, in these incredible, unincorporated, amazing mansion-style houses.
Country Oswego.
Yeah, that area is amazing. Are they still there?
They are still there, yeah.
I know they don't necessarily want to be, but they're still there.
Infested by cicadas right now. They
got it bad.
They have it bad.
Really?
I was we've seen two at our house.
Yeah,
and I went there this morning and they were just dropping on my car. It was so creepy.
It's weird because I've been prepared for Armageddon.
Yeah.
And it seems only certain spots are really getting bombarded.
They have so many mature old trees, so maybe
true.
that's part of it. But it's not gross.
So, do you even remember the Naperville house?
No. I've seen it in pictures.
Right.
But no, I don't remember.
But you don't remember coming up there.
No.
And you're an only child.
I am.
Just like my last guest.
Yeah.
So you're selfish.
Yeah, definitely.
Where did you go to school then? Because that's pretty far out there.
Eastview.
I guess Eastview would be the closest. There's so many more schools now, but like
now,
back then.
yeah, I don't know. I think there was only 4 elementary schools when I went. Maybe
Yeah.
4. So, yeah, I went to Eastview, and then I went to Trauber.
You went to Trauber, too?
Yeah. Well, think that's closer, right? That was where
It
the
is.
senior center
Well, that's why I'm like, I
or
didn't,
is.
because there's a bit of a small age gap between us.
Large.
Bruh, it's like 5 years. Sure, fine. Large age gap between. I wanted to feel better about being 41.
Just kidding.
But I didn't know when it would stop being a junior high.
Yeah.
Because I think it's not a junior high anymore.
I mean, it was a junior high all through when I was in, not college, high school for sure.
Probably while you were through college, too.
Maybe. I don't know.
So then I don't think East was a thing yet when you came up.
No, so the year after, they might have been building it.
Yeah.
Because I think the year after I graduated, that class like was split.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, or
So-
2 years after, something like that.
But kind of living out in unincorporated, like in this, it's a really small area with like nice huge yards for playing and stuff like that. But there is not, and you travel pretty far to go to school.
Yeah.
So you'd have friends at school, but how did that translate to that neighborhood? Were there a lot of kids in that neighborhood?
No, not really. I knew Lindsay, kind of briefly. I mean, I knew who she was, and
Yeah.
I can't remember if we played soccer together. I mean, it's been so long, but I knew her, and we were friendly. And then as we got older, obviously, we became better friends.
The way I travel, my backpack
Yeah.
is Lindsay's old soccer bag.
Okay.
When I lived in
believe
her
that.
house,
Yeah.
I lived in her house, 20 years ago?
Yeah.
And I took the soccer bag, and I still use it.
Stole it, but at least you kept it.
Right.
Yeah, so that was, so I knew her, and then there was like a kid that was my age that lived up the road who I hung out with occasionally, and then my friend Kate who lived like, behind us.
Yeah, so Kate was
Not
down
far,
the street
but she
a
didn't
little
move
bit.
there until junior high. So
Really?
when I was in elementary school, I didn't really have any neighborhood friends,
Wow.
which is part of the reason why it was important for like me to settle, or us to sell our family like where we did, because there's a lot of young kids in our neighborhood and a lot of neighborhood play.
Was that really
and
something like you consciously were aware,
100%,
just because
yeah.
of you were like,
I mean, obviously you can't choose your neighbors, so I
Sure.
didn't know at
Yeah.
the time.
but still like just the option of like,
Yeah.
you grew up where there's not really anything.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I
makes
wanted
sense.
I mean, I definitely feel like there's, as you get older, I think the desire for more space becomes more real. So I get why my parents wanted to be there. And like, sometimes even when I'm looking into the future, I'm like, oh, it would be nice to like, have some land or whatever, and like look at a lake or whatever,
I'm curious about that
But-
though, just because that house is massive.
Yeah.
It's got a full finished basement. It's got at least 4 bedrooms,
Yeah.
and it was always just you and your parents.
Yeah.
Obviously, they always have like guests and they have friends and things like that also.
Yeah.
But it always felt like way too much.
Yeah. Well, I think part of that is probably, I mean, I don't want to speak for them, but I think
Sure.
part of that is probably that they did want a larger family at one point in time.
Right.
My parents had me later in, now, I mean, my mom was 36, I'm almost 37, so that's kind of weird to
Not
say.
for
but
nothing though, that's
later
still
in
considered an
life-
old pregnancy.
Okay, please.
It is.
God, dear Lord.
It is.
I
Like just
know,
medically,
I
it's
know,
geriatric.
Okay, come on. We all know. You don't have to bring it up. But yes, so that, I think that's, that was part of it. I think maybe they thought there would be more
Yeah.
kids at some point. And
Because you were like a miracle baby.
yeah, I mean, maybe, I know they had tried for a while.
Yeah, that makes sense. They would have easily probably had there would have been a bunch of you running around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then the other thing is that my dad, like I said, loves architecture. So,
Yeah.
I think just for him to have the ability to design something that was like really what he wanted and loved, was part of it too. I'm sure.
Yeah.
You kind of.
Well, the design is so unique. Like it's, like I said, I love the second I stepped foot in that house. I was like, this is really cool. Like
Yeah.
the decor might be dated at certain times, but like the design is just so interesting.
Yeah.
And just a really cool place. I'm also a big fan of a step-down living room.
Really?
It's just funny to me.
That's
They're like, everything's on a
funny.
level, and then you're like, we got to step down into this living room.
Sunken. I think that's what they call it, right?
That's
I don't know.
that's what you want your house rooms named after.
Sunken.
Sunken.
Like a marsh. A swamp. Yeah. Yeah.
So now, when you get to, so you didn't meet Kate until junior high.
Yeah, I think 6th grade.
And then
6th or 7th
you
grade.
guys became like uncomfortably good friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's all we can say about that. But
Oh my God. No, I mean, they moved in behind us and we hung out from sunup until sundown, like every single day. So, yeah, the first time I met her parents, I think I had been hanging out with, I've been like basically living at her house for like a week, and then like they just walked into the room. I mean, that's how kids were back then, right?
That's true, yeah.
We were just back and forth and riding our bikes all over, the country roads, and it was a good time.
Now, when you get to high school, you finished high school in 3 years. Mm-hmm. Did you?
I would have done it in 2 if they let me.
Is that true?
I mean, I wanted to be out of high school as soon as I got into high school. So yeah,
like
I would have.
Like you hated high school.
I didn't hate it, but I just, I don't think, I don't know how to even explain it aside from that. I guess I feel like I had friends and it was fine. It wasn't, I hated having to go somewhere every day and feeling that, like that level of like control over me or something. Like just that it was a have to. Like I feel like if school was optional, I would have been like, cool, I'll go, it wouldn't have, it just, that kind of control bothers me. It's why I don't have like a 9-to-5 job now in an office either.
Because you're like the sweetest lady and like the easiest going sweetheart, but then you're like, don't tell me what to do.
Correct.
I will leave right now.
Thing. Yeah, and I think that's, I'm sure my parents love that about me too, but no,
well, not for nothing, you get it from somewhere.
That's just been part of me. I think I don't, and it's also like this is so cliche maybe, but the kind of institution of it all, like I'm going to let this old dude tell me what to do all day. Like, that's just not, it's just like, I'm still like that, you know, I just let me do it my way. And if I'm not doing it right, then you can tell me,
Yeah,
but
that makes sense.
I like to figure things out my own way. And I always felt like there was a lot of time wasting in school too.
And there is, but that's usually where you become social and learn how to deal with people and make friends.
Yeah, which I did. I feel like I'm saying this and it seems like I didn't have friends or something, but I feel like I did. I just wasn't, I think, again, like, I feel like I sound like a broken record, but like, I think I've always kind of been a little bit of an old soul where I was just like, there has to be more than this. Like, this is kind of dumb, or whatever. Like, I want to be in the real world. I always wanted to be in the real world. And
I feel like that nails more of where your brain is. Where it's like, I'm ready for my life to start.
I love education, and I think education is brilliant, and I love reading still and learning new things still, and I think there's a real value to that. And I actually now more than ever feel like, oh yeah, I would go take a class on this or that, and that would be really interesting to me. But I think, yes, that is it. It was that I just wanted to be in the real world and doing what people did all day while I was at school. I was like, what do they do all day? I remember being on the bus as a kid and being like, I'm just going to tell my mom I'm sick so I can go home and see what people do. Like, I remember going to the doctor and being like, look at these women are just walking around. Like, like they're going to the grocery store or whatever, and I have to be here. Like, it's bogus. So, anyway,
that's adorable.
I remember having those thoughts. So, I was just excited to be done and start my life. And that's just how I felt about it. And I think, actually, speaking of Kate, she went to our 10-year high school reunion, I think. And I wasn't able to go because I was on a trip. And she had told a few people, like, I was traveling or whatever. And they're like, oh, yeah, I'm not surprised. Like, And I think part of that is just, I must have, in some ways, put that out there of just like, I just need to, I just need to get out of this place.
I think it makes sense. I like the idea that you can't stand like anybody authoritatively above you. So instead, you bust your ass twice as hard.
Correct.
To get out of school. So you graduate your junior year, which I met you then. When you were a kid, I was probably an unfortunately creepy old guy, but that doesn't matter now.
Okay. Yeah.
But then you took college classes in the summer.
I did, yeah.
That was to finish your.
That was to finish high school. Though. Yeah.
So they basically said, "Oh, you're done as long as these college courses happen in the summer." Do you remember those courses you had to take during the summer?
No, it was not anything hard. It was like
I think it was the senior requirements, like the political science, maybe something like that. I don't know why I'm even saying.
I think I did most of that kind of stuff in school. Yeah. And then I think the college stuff was like you just need so many hours. So like I literally did like yoga and
really?
Yeah.
Even back then, wow.
Yeah, and I did something else. I don't know. I did some like creative writing and stuff, I think.
Yeah.
Because I always loved English and writing and maybe like a history class. But yeah, it was mostly just for credits.
Did you have an idea then with the early graduation stuff of what you were going to go to college for, like what you wanted to do?
I always wanted to be a journalist. I remember being like a little girl and wanting to be a writer and back then like to me like magazines were so cool, like the coolest thing. So I was like, oh, I'll write for a magazine, and that seemed just like so glamorous to me and like such a cool job. And plus I think from a young age people would kind of like affirm my writing, so that always kind of made sense. I was like, oh yeah, I'm a good writer. You know, people tell me I'm good at it, so that makes sense. And then that was so that's originally what I went to school for, was journalism. Now, and then that changed very quickly.
I say that once you started actually doing it, you're like, I don't know.
It wasn't that I didn't enjoy it, but what happened was I took an art history course as like a, I don't know, an extra course. I can't remember why I took it now. And I just fell in love. So it was not like I didn't love writing anymore, but I just fell in love with art history in a totally different way. The classes were so engaging, and I still got to write because a lot of art history is about writing, essay writing. So I was still writing a lot of essays. It just wasn't, it was just a different kind of animal, and I loved it. I was the first art history graduate of North Central College because they didn't have that major when I was there.
Is that true? You're the first art history major graduate in North Central.
Well, now that I say that, I'm questioning it. But yes, they didn't have the major when I went.
Sure. So I'm sure that was a class of more than just you, but like...
No, there wasn't.
Really?
So, I'm saying... So what they had is it wasn't a major that you could have, but they did have a program because the college I went to was like a liberal arts college. They did have a program where you could create your own major, basically. It was called like an individualized major. And so there was a process, again, talking about not doing things the right way. Now we're saying this, and I'm like, oh God, made it so much harder on myself. But what you had to do was like basically create the major by saying, these are the classes I'll take. This is how all the credits will add up.
Right.
And then I think there was like, you had to get so many professors maybe to sign off on it and have like, I think I had to have my art history professor kind of like vouch for me in a sense, or say like that they would kind of like help guide me or what have you. So it might be that other people graduated, decided to do that before me. I don't know. Like with art history, I'm not sure. So I might not be the first, but I was for sure one of the first to do it. And after I graduated, they created the major, and they used some of the kind of groundwork that the professor and I had laid out. Do you
remember talking about doing this episode for like pretty much since last year, and you being like, my life's so boring, like just not important, and you're out here creating paths in life in North Central College? Well, come on.
I guess it was a long time ago, and I don't think my life's boring. I think
I was paraphrasing.
Yeah, I think that, as you reminded me before we started, everyone feels like, oh, this is just normal for me, or who would really care about this? So I definitely had those feelings, but yeah, so I did that. And then I graduated with art history and a minor in fine art. So I did fine art, and my focus was ceramics primarily when I graduated.
I remember going to the school and like while you were working on ceramics and being like, I shouldn't be here. I feel like I'm a distraction.
You probably were.
Probably. Well, I would wander around a lot.
Yeah, you probably were. No, it was fun. I loved, that was a great time. And I think, I'm really happy with my college experience, because I think for me, that's what college is. It's really like maybe not knowing where that path is going to lead, but having the chance to try things, and ultimately now more than ever I do actually use my degree.
Really?
Which is interesting. Yeah. So I mean, it took me a while to kind of get there. I feel like I do, but yeah. So I think it's, not everyone. I don't do what I thought I was going to work in museums. I obviously don't work in a museum setting. You got to
work in a museum, though.
I did. I was at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago.
While you were doing your degree, right?
Yeah. Yeah, which was amazing. And I was in their marketing department, which is a lot of, how I do a lot of marketing now. So I learned some things there, mainly by just being nosy, because most of what my job there was at the time was like, I don't know, cold calling people or something, or just like handing out flyers or helping with events to some degree. So
I can't see you cold calling people.
It wasn't really that. I can't remember. I do remember getting huge mailing lists.
Yeah.
And having to work my way through them for some reason, and I don't exactly remember what the reason was now, but
you've clearly blocked it out of your memory. So
absolutely. Yeah, I have. But it was a cool experience.
Through all of this, also, you're friends with all of us. The bands are going strong at this time, so there's shows every weekend. We're having a good time. But you're also very thrifty. Like, you're the person who got me into thrifting.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I'd never thrifted before, actually.
Okay.
And at that time back then, like, and you and Kate would practically like make your own outfits. It was, that's where I first noticed the artistic eye. Because I love to create in various different mediums. Yeah. But I can't look at something and like see what I could do with it. Yeah. I can only do that from scratch. Yeah. So to watch you guys like grab basically garbage from the thrift store and then turn it into these amazing things. Yeah. Because usually we spend the week getting clothes from the thrift store, and then we would have a show on the weekend, and you guys would have made these amazing outfits. It was crazy, because I would have thought you would have gone into fashion design at some point.
I did have an interest in fashion design. I don't know what it was, although I do feel like the art history stuff, it just like scratched that itch in all respects, because I've always been interested in history, still am. So it like, to me, art history was like storytelling. Like, I'd look at a painting, I would have a feeling, right? Which is what it's supposed to do, hopefully. Yeah, right. I'd have a feeling. And then in class, I remember these moments where then the instructor, if you had a good professor, would just be telling you this like story about, what, either, the thing about art that is amazing is like most of it is a reflection of that time in history, right? And so kind of hearing about all the layers to that, like why it was relevant at the time, what it made people feel, I just found that really fascinating. So, and then I love beautiful things. So that has always inspired like that creativity in me. So even if it doesn't seem like a direct correlation, like even now, like there's a painting behind you and I keep looking at it and it's like, just abstract, but like I am just thinking like, I really like those colors together. And and those are the things that then like, this sounds silly, but if I go get my nails done tomorrow, like I might get that shade of blue because like it just sticks with me in a different way.
Do you feel like though too, like knowing this is a psychologist's office and kind of being like, this feels like it fits the space, it's got a certain level of calming. It kind of walks you through certain things. Do you look at it in that kind of a scope also, or just for more of a pure artistic thing?
I think both. I mean, I'm really interested now. I feel like the creative things that I do now are more for marketing purposes. So, in a work aspect, so like when I'm at home, I love just building beautiful like aesthetics. So whether that's like my surroundings in my home, like home decor, or like my clothing. I like, I mean, when we plan for a trip, I'll spend 2 weeks thinking about what outfits I'm going to wear. And that sounds silly, but to me, that's part of the experience. It's like really fun for me to, like, I think my husband and I talk about this all the time, but like the build up to a trip is almost as good as going on a trip.
Sure.
Because it's really about like the excitement of travel and like, what am I going to see and do? And what's the food going to be like and all those things. And so, for me, part of that aesthetic is an experience is like what I'm going to wear and like how that's going to make me feel when I'm there.
Yeah.
And Dan always teases me that like when we go places, I dress like the place, which is so true. Mm-hmm. But like, or like the people. So like one time when we were in Amsterdam, like right before the trip, I cut bangs, and he was like. He was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. It just seems like Dutch people should have bangs. Like, to me, it felt right.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't the best look, but,
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I like the idea of you doing that, but then having to point it out everywhere you go to make sure people are like, just so you guys know, this didn't just happen. I built this.
I mean, ironically, in that trip to Amsterdam, people would come up to me and just start speaking in Dutch, and I would have to be like, oh no, I'm American or whatever. I usually pretend I'm like Canadian. I'm like, oh, I'm here from Canada.
That's actually smart.
Yeah, but and so that was kind of funny, and so I was like, I must look the part, which I like.
Which means you nailed it.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I feel like this is what a Dutch person should look like, and then they're all like, you're definitely Dutch.
So I'm gonna talk to her. Yeah, yeah.
That's hilarious.
It was fun.
So after then, you get through college. What did you do? Like, what did you do right after college? Also, you took a little bit of time off. Like, was it a year or 2 years?
After high school.
Yeah.
It took a year off after high school.
Yeah, that's when. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I graduated a year early, but then took that year off and just kind of worked. You still started college when you should have. Yeah, correct. Yes.
Oh yeah, your job, bruh. We gotta talk about your job. Because you worked at the Oswego Park District.
Yes.
For forever.
Yes.
Like literally, because you started what, 15?
14, yeah.
14. Because I remember you were like, you were in your mid 30s, and we're like, you've been here for 20 years. How is that even possible?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, because I left when I left when I was 34.
Literally.
34. So it was like 20 years. Yeah.
Now, when you're 14. What are you doing at the Park District?
I taught swim lessons. So when I started...
Also, how did you get there?
My mom drove me.
Okay.
We had like a carpool because we were all like swim team girls. So we swam on the swim team.
This is the Civic Center?
The Otters.
Between Civic Center and Windrock?
Yes, but it was at the Civic Center at the time, I think.
Okay.
So we swam for the Otters, and then... me and like a couple of my girlfriends, I don't know if we must have just been there and heard about the opportunity to like teach some lessons, and we're like, we know how to swim, we could teach it. And you were just like assistants at the time. So I think I had to get like a work permit and do all of that stuff. And then, I taught or was an assistant swim teacher for at least probably a year or two. And then I think when I was 16, maybe I started teaching on my own. So that was like a summer job. I did that every summer until I think I was managing the pool and then like managing the aquatics department when I was maybe like 22.
Yeah.
And then graduated from college. And so this kind of all ties together. So when I graduated from college, I was looking for museum jobs to some degree. And then I was... I was just trying to figure out like what I wanted to do really.
Right.
And I had met my now husband, and so we weren't sure where we were going to end up. So he was kind of looking for jobs over here, and I was trying to figure out where I was going to be. And the park district was like, well, we have a full-time job that just opened. I think, and in the meantime of that, I think when I graduated college or before I graduated college, I started teaching yoga as like a hobby.
Yeah.
And so they knew I taught yoga. So they were like, we have this fitness.
So weren't you like the athletic director?
No, I was a recreation supervisor, but my departments were fitness, dance, adult varied interest classes.
Okay, that's why you ran all these different.
Yes.
I always wondered what. In my head, I decided you were the athletic director.
No, yeah. Well, athletics is like, that would be more sports. I was in sports. Sense. I was fitness, so like all the fitness programs, classes, and then I ran the dance department for quite a while too.
And then also during this time, probably when you were 22, somewhere in there, you created a job for me.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I don't think I created that job.
Well, it didn't exist. And I wouldn't
true?
have had it if you didn't give it to me.
Or
maybe you got me the job, but I forget her name. The lady
Carolyn.
Carolyn let me come in early and power wash the pool, all the cement parts of the pool.
Okay.
Which I loved.
Yeah.
My favorite things. And then when the pool was open, I would just wipe tables. Which is like nothing.
Threw your name in the hat for that. To be honest, you're giving me too much credit, but yeah.
Like I have my story.
Yeah. Okay, I like it.
Because I've always been grateful in general because I was in between jobs and it was something to bring money in. But there's nothing like working for 13-year-olds running the concession stand.
For sure.
And having to do everything they say. That's
They're the boss.
But I would go in there like 4 hours early and power wash. But I still had access to the nacho cheese machine.
Ew.
What? What do you mean, ew?
Did you eat it with nachos or by itself?
I'm not a psychopath.
Okay, well, you said it like just the cheese. You weren't like, I had access to nachos.
Let me tell you what you do. You go and you get the chips, tortilla chips.
Yeah.
You break them up into a cup, and then you put nacho cheese in that. I've said too much.
And eat it with a fork?
Or you just drink it, whatever you want to do.
Okay. I gotta go.
You're so... Man, you know what?
I gotta get out of here.
I don't like what's just happened. This will be edited.
Okay, good. Yeah. So, yeah, and then I worked at the Park District doing that for a very long time. And the reason that, it
was it's such a cool place to work.
Yeah.
And I feel like you particularly, like, you got to grow up there. And not for nothing, too. Like you said, you were on the swim team. And when you were younger, you did athletics. And didn't you play soccer?
Yeah, I played soccer for a long time.
Track, or am I projecting that?
Maybe, but not like, it wasn't something that I did for a long time. I played a lot of sports growing up,
you did a lot of sports in general.
Soccer was the primary.
I'd be curious if, because growing up without a lot of kids there, you got involved with as many social things as you could.
100%.
Because you were just like starved for social.
Well, and my parents also, I think, that was like, my parents are very much of the mindset that if you're busy, you can't get in trouble. So I think that was for sure part of it, Yeah. And they wanted me to try everything, which, fair enough.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
do you find that kind of reflects to your kids too?
No.
You just kind of let them come to it as they come to it?
Yeah, I feel like it depends on the kid.
You want them to get in trouble.
I love when they get in trouble. I love scolding them. No, I think that it depends on the kid because my kids' personalities are so different.
Yeah.
So you just really have to feel them out. Like, my son would do everything if you let him. If you said, do you want to play this sport, that sport, do that, do that, he would. I mean, right now he does, he plays chess and he does drumming and
that's awesome.
He plays baseball and he does soccer in the winters and
wow,
he loves it. But right now, like, we're just wrapping up. I was telling you, a really busy season, and he's been in, his Monday nights have been
for
school
Raw
all day.
Wait, Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, no.
He'll get there.
Yeah. But right now, Mondays for him, we're like school all day, chess club after school, drumming after that, baseball after that, which...
Jeez, all in one day
in one day. And I I always was like, I'll never overschedule my kids. It's
Yeah.
too much. But then when you have a kid that really wants to do it, and he is a go, go, go. He'll go from morning until night.
Yeah.
So like,
Well, that was going to be my next question. How does that
Yeah.
curb his upness as far as like constant energy at home?
Yeah.
Is he getting a lot out with everything he's doing, or is he still
Yeah.
just like, I could go all day?
he can go all day, but he is like social. He's
Yeah.
he's a social kid, and he loves being around his friends. And like baseball for him is like half athletic, half like I just get to hang out with my bros.
Yeah,
you know?
it's socialization. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, but my daughter is very different, and she does dance, and she wants to play tennis this summer, but only if she takes a break from dance. And
She
she'll
doesn't want to
tell you
overwhelm
those
herself.
things. No, yeah, and she's also the child that would, when we go on like a family walk, she'll make it about. She's getting better, but she'd make it about 5 minutes in and just be like, I'm shattered. Like, I need to have a rest. So she's...
I hope she says the word shattered.
Oh, and she'll go, I'm always tired. I'll go, have a good night's sleep. Sleep well. And she'll go, I will, but I'm always tired. No matter how much sleep I get.
She sounds
her
like
life is
an adorable
exhausting.
old lady.
She's very, I used to joke.
She's already middle-aged.
Yeah, I used to joke all the time, but like her favorite food was soup forever. She loved like going to the library. She loves like, it's just, yeah, she is. She's just kind of.
It's funny to me that
like
you
a
were an
slower
old soul when
moving.
you were
Yeah.
younger. I mean, you still are in a lot of ways, but then you birthed literally an old lady.
Yeah, she's ancient. Yeah. No, but she's different. I mean, she's just, and she has like her good friends, but she's very much so, she's just the complete opposite in terms of socialization and stuff. She just likes, and if she's not interested, very quickly that she's not interested because she's not going to pretend.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're both so amazing, but very different.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, kind of a backtrack from that. How did you meet your husband?
Mm-hmm.
Because you were still relatively young, right? Like, I feel like you guys have been together
22.
forever.
Yeah. I was 20. I think I must have been 22 or 23, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we met
That is so long.
at a bar. Basically, long story short,
Sure.
we met at a bar.
We're not skipping over anything.
Yeah, there's like a little, there's a little bit more to that, but
that's not for them. That's for us.
Right. The meat of it is
Yeah.
we met at a bar, and
I always forget actually that I was there.
you were there. It was Mojo's.
That's right, because I love Mojos.
Yeah, and I don't think I've been there since then.
I mean, why risk it?
Maybe
You got
once
what
or
you came
twice.
for.
Yeah, I got a husband out of the deal. I'm not going. Yeah, and then he's from England, and he was here doing a job internship. He was here for a year,
Yeah.
and we met his last month here.
Wow.
So we basically hung out for a month,
Yeah.
and then
You guys got pretty close fast.
He had to go back.
It just felt.
yeah,
Do you feel that like consciously, or like this feels pretty good?
Yes.
Or were you a little? Or were you feeling a little more guarded because you've been through whatever you'd been through before that?
Yeah.
Or were you just like, I'm ready for this. This feels cool.
I think that I'm trying to like put myself back
I know
there.
it's a long time ago.
I mean, it really is. Well, and it's because it's still someone that I'm with today.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to remember what those initial, feelings were like, but I do remember feeling
First off,
always very comfortable.
I remember
with
that
them.
night being like, that's a handsome man.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's so cute, and he's so sweet, and I remember feeling always like at ease. Mm-hmm. And always like I didn't know what was going to happen.
Sure.
And
it was rocky there for a while. With,
I did, yeah.
Especially with like him being stuck in England or not being able to come out this way, and like not realistic for you to go out there.
Yeah, I try not to have like expectations, I would say, when we met. But I definitely felt like, oh, this is like the most it's ever made sense to me. Yeah. Where it was just easy and all the pieces were there. And
do you find where you're like, oh, this is what these other not so good things are supposed to feel like.
Yeah. Well, in a lot of ways, or just like, I mean, it sounds, I keep saying I think these things sound cliche, and I think they do to some degree, but I basically did agree to marry him very, very early. And I was going to say maybe like a few weeks ago I would have said yes, but I basically did in some ways. And I think it was just because it just felt right. And I know that seems silly, but I was like, even if this doesn't work, it just feels like it's going to. So I might, and I kind of live my life like that in general.
Very blasé, and we'll see.
Well, a little bit like, what's the worst that can happen? like it could be.
That's how you want to get married. Yeah.
Well, I kind of felt like, I try to be pragmatic, and it's like, what are the two options? And for us at the time, I mean, this is getting a little bit ahead of the story, but at the time it was very much like, either we stay together and we get married, or he goes back.
Right.
So, it didn't seem like...
So he was on basically a work visa?
No, so when we met, he was here on a job internship, and that was ending.
Internship. Yeah.
So that ended because he was an American Studies major. So basically kind of like an international business or something. Like he knew he wanted to work like in America or with an American company.
Yeah. But he was not allowed to just come here for more than X amount of time.
Correct. No. So he had to go back, and he still had a year of school to finish because he took a gap year also before university. But I can't remember, or maybe I don't know. Anyway, we're the same age, but he had more school to finish than I did. I must be smarter. Anyway, so he still had school to finish, and so he went back, and it was summer at the time, and so it was the summer that I graduated. So I was 20, I must have been 22. So he went back home, and I think it was pretty much like, okay, see you later, bye. This was great knowing you. Let's keep in touch. I mean, really, it was that way. And I remember him emailing me.
Wow, what an old sentence.
Yeah, because I'm sure we had each other's cell phone number. I don't know, whatever it was. But he emailed me and said something along the lines of, I think he was on the plane. And he was like, I know this sounds crazy, but you're going on summer break, and would you be interested in coming out here for a couple of weeks over the summer? And I said yes. So I went out, I don't know, maybe a month or so after that, and neither of us really knew like what it was going to be. Yeah. Because at that point we were just hanging out like casual, fairly casually, and like I said, kind of acting a little bit like, well, this is what's going to happen. Yeah. And when I went out there, very quickly, I think both of us realized, like, well, no, we want to date. Like, we want to be together. So now what?
Right.
And so then I came home, and we had a year where he was finishing school. And I think part of the reason that I took that Park District job was because then I had security to make money and be able to, I was living at home, and I basically used all of it to travel and see him, or he'd come see me. So we were kind of every few months traveling or meeting somewhere or what have you. And then when he graduated, he ended up getting a job, like a temp job kind of, I think, with a sister company of the company that he had interned for previously. And they sent him out here for a few months. And then that's when we moved in together. So
but even that had an expiration date.
Correct. Yes. And it might not have been a few months. It might have been longer, like maybe 6-month project or something. Yeah. But we moved in together. And then during that time is when we decided to get married.
Yeah. Because I remember you guys ended up getting married at some point just for whatever, so you could stay here. And then we had this extravagant wedding.
Yeah. We got married. Yes. The long and short of it is that we got engaged we hired a lawyer to help with immigration.
Yeah.
And the lawyer was like, I have a great idea. This is my memory. I'm sure Dan's going to listen to this and be like, this is completely wrong.
I hope so.
But my memory is that the lawyer was like, this is great. Like, plan a wedding. You have plenty of time. We'll do this fiance visa thing. Once it gets approved, then you'll have all this time to get married and whatever.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay. So we do all the paperwork. We plan a wedding for, as most people do, like a year or more out. Because you have to book a venue and all that stuff.
When was the wedding booked for?
June. What year did I get married? June 2013.
So you never had to change that?
No, I couldn't because we had paid for like
all
the stuff. So yeah, so we booked that.
Yeah.
And then the lawyer called us, like, again, in my memory, it felt like a month later or less, and was like, hey, great news, your paperwork went through. You have 90 days to get married. And we were like a year out from our wedding. And so we were like, oh, this is not, so we have to hurry. So we ended up flying to Austin, Texas, and then taking a train through like El Paso, and then renting a car and driving to Vegas.
So you guys eloped to Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Now, when that happens too, first off, that's always been my dream, is to elope to Vegas. Also.
Yeah.
I just find there's something like so vagabond romantic about it.
It was super fun.
Yeah, it sounds so cool. Now, but so you guys knew that happened, and whoever was with you knew that happened, and pictures were taken.
We were by ourselves.
But you couldn't share that information, or other than like people you could trust. You didn't really release that information then, because you want people to come to the wedding.
Yeah, I mean, our parents knew.
Sure.
But even like, my parents weren't like super stoked. Like they were like happy. I mean, they loved Dan. They loved Dan probably more than me most days. So they were excited about us getting married, but about us wanting to do it by ourselves.
Yeah.
Because I kept saying like, well, I want you to see us get married like at this wedding we're paying for. Like, I don't want you to come to Vegas. That's, or like go to a courthouse or something. And then plus like Dan's family was all abroad. So I just thought, well, it's not fair if you guys get to be here and they don't. And, we just wanted it to be like, hey, if we're going to do this, let's just have it be the two of us. And so yes, but we did pay for pictures.
Did you go to the Elvis drive-thru?
No, we got married at a chapel that no longer exists. It was called the Wee Kirk O'Heather Chapel. And we had friends who had gotten married there previously, so we knew of it from them. And then when we got there, they said, do you want, the regular guy or Elvis? I don't know, something along those lines. And I was like, I want Elvis, but like I don't want to laugh the whole time. And we had gone to like a brunch before with like all you can drink mimosas, so I was already feeling like I will laugh the whole time.
Yeah.
And so then the regular officiator or whatever comes out, and it was literally like Elvis just in plain clothes. And
I hope it's literally the same guy.
I'm sure it is.
He's just like, all right, I won't wear the jumpsuit.
100% it was. And like, I'll try to do less of a weird accent or whatever, So I was still the whole time just like, and they had a photographer there taking pictures, and they are just the cheesiest, best, but like just most awkward.
They are adorable photos.
They made us like pose so funny, and but it was fun.
I love how they try to, because they're like they want to make you take it dead serious, knowing full well how absurd it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was and I mean now I look at those pictures and I'm like, oh my god, we look like so babies. I mean, I was 24 when we got married.
You guys are babies.
Yeah, but at the time you think, oh, we're old. We know what we're doing.
Celebrating 10 years this year, right?
No, I was 24, so this is our 12-year anniversary.
Oh yeah, 12 years. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy too.
Yeah.
What's because then we had the wedding still come June.
Yes.
And the wedding was amazing.
Yes.
It was a beautiful wedding. We even had our friends from Germany come out. Mm-hmm. It was a good time. So then, after that, you guys eventually, because you were living in a townhouse in Oswego.
Yep.
When do you decide to invest in a house? Like, all right, now we're going to have a family at some point. We're going to need a house.
I think we bought the house that same year. And I think it was before before the wedding.
It's possible.
Yes. So we decided to buy a house in Batavia. We
Right down the street from where we are.
Yeah. We drove around a lot and like tried to figure out like where we wanted to be. And I think you and I talked about this a little bit, but I think having grown up in Oswego, and especially where I was in Oswego, I felt like I wanted to be kind of more in a downtown vibe. And we are both like quite outdoorsy together. And so I think we wanted like being on the river or being near the river was very appealing, and being able to, kind of be, I don't know, in a community where we could be a bit more active. And so we bought a house like downtown Batavia. So we were walking distance from like the heart of the downtown.
Yeah, which is an awesome area. There's so much cool stuff there too.
So at the time there was nothing. There was like an Irish pub and maybe like a couple of shops and mostly bars, but it was super fun.
It's really grown a lot too. Like I feel like you guys got in at a good time.
Oh, we got in at the best time. And we moved, so we're no longer in that house, but we moved to another house in a little bit farther out from the downtown. And we moved there at a very good time too. We were very lucky because now I would not want to move.
Well, yeah, that's smart. It's wild out there now. It worked
out in our favor, but yes, we were walking distance from downtown and we really liked it. And then, and I was still working in Oswego at the time, and he was working just up the road, as you know.
Now, so we already established that you've been at the Park District forever. We've covered a good chunk of your life, and we're about to jump to recent just because this is in the last 2 years, you leave the Park District.
Yeah.
I feel like not for nothing, 20 years at such a young age is a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel like it feels like I'll just do this until I can't do this. I feel like there's still plenty of room to grow.
Yeah.
And there's still plenty you could do and have an amazing career.
Yeah.
So what's brought to the table where you're like, okay, it might be time to move on?
I think there were a few things for me. I think I loved the people at the Park District, but I didn't love my job.
But you weren't in love with them?
Well, I wasn't in love with them. I wasn't in love with my job, for sure. And it was something that I did and I was good at, but I never felt like super passionate about it.
Really? So it was because, like I said, you did it for a long time in various iterations.
Yeah.
But it was always just like, this pays the bills, and I don't really feel any way past that.
Kind of. I mean, I think at the time...
And that's not a knock on the job by any means.
I think at the time, again, it was like so many years, it was very layered. It was like, one, I was comfortable.
Yeah.
I got offered this job. I worked hard, but I was comfortable. And I had a certain level of flexibility as well.
And those early years were summer also. Like, it's not like you worked full-time since you were 14.
Yeah, no. So, and then when we had a family, I ended up going part-time. I had pretty much spent my maternity leave writing a proposal about why they should let me go part-time.
I couldn't believe the stuff you would get away with schedule-wise.
They were really good to me.
Yeah,
and I was able to be pretty flexible and do what I wanted to do, was like be a present parent and still be able to have a life and have a career. And so I think once my kids got a little bit older, so May was maybe 3 when I left. And I think once they got a little bit older, I just started to realize like I didn't really want to do the next thing there. Mm-hmm. And what did that look like then? And what made sense? And so in the meantime, because I was too scared to leave or do anything else, because that was a real fear. I mean, I'll just be honest with you. I do feel like I'm someone that takes chances. Yeah. But I also am a normal human and have real fears. And
I feel like this is hard to explain, but you set your own net.
Yeah.
Like, you're not expecting anybody to save you.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I've always really admired about you is it's easy to look at the opportunities you've had and the things that you've done and be like, oh, her parents handled everything. But I was there. I know that that's not true. Like, don't get me wrong, your parents are incredible.
Yeah.
But your parents did not, like, you busted your ass
Yeah.
to do things and to get where you wanted to be because of, not for nothing, the example that they set. Like, it's one of the things I adore about your dad is that I feel like he's similar to me, where we're not really like career people. We're like, let's try things, let's do things. You know, obviously he's had to do certain things like to pay the bills and stuff, but like it always seems like he's excited to get his hands into things.
Yeah.
And just to see what's out there, as opposed to be like, I guess I'll just do this forever.
Yeah. Yeah. He did change careers like quite a few times, and I think that was a good example for me because like I said, I was comfortable. So the thought of changing and doing anything else was very intimidating to me.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, especially being a woman in her 30s, you become more confident. Like, I do feel like I've become more confident in life in general.
Yeah.
But when you haven't done anything career-wise, and then, you know, I spent a lot of that time, like I said, kind of balancing like being a mom and being working in the office and stuff. And so like just thinking, oh gosh, like I haven't advanced anymore, you know, what's the next thing? So anyway, I was really trying to figure that out. And I had a few years where I kind of wanted to do something else, but I just didn't know what that looked like and felt a little stuck.
Yeah.
And then I started volunteering because I thought, well, that's just something to keep me interested. Like I do think that's something that I've tried really hard to do over the years, is just always have like something that's keeping me interested, motivated, like a hobby.
It doesn't necessarily have to be your job. Like, your job can be your job, but what's keeping this passion alive, right?
Correct. Yes. So for me, I had a girlfriend who knew of this art collective that our town did and said, hey, they need like a new volunteer. The volunteers that are running it are leaving and they need new volunteers to run it. Like, would you be interested in running it? And it was the perfect thing because, like I said, I've had this whole backstory of working in the arts and wanting to be more involved in art. Yeah. And I kind of, put that on hiatus for a little while.
But it's almost funny how you like manifested it almost by finally being open to leaving security and being like, all right, what's out there? And then this thing kind of shows up that's like right in line with what you would have wanted.
Well, and the art collective, it's called the Artisan Collective, that was only a volunteer position. So like I still had my security. I was still working.
Right.
I was just doing that a few hours a week and like throughout the summers because I cared about it. Right. And I thought it was cool. And I thought, hey, like, you know, part of what the Park District taught me was that, you know, this nonprofit work is about community stewardship, and it's about helping to create the, you know, town that you want to live in, like being a part of the town in a different way. It's not just a place I live, it's a place where I, you know, take an active role in making it better. Yeah. And so when the opportunity came up for me to do this in Batavia, I thought, well, that makes sense because I live here. I should be volunteering in this community. I should be making it better. And so anyway, I voluntarily did that for 3 years and maybe 2.5 and 3. And I really enjoyed it and I grew the program quite a lot. And I'm really proud of that. And when that happened, I met the wonderful person that I now work with, and she was like, I think you should come work here. So anyway, the organization that I work for now is also a nonprofit. So again, it's kind of like it took some of that experience that I had in Parks and Rec and kind of directly transferred because a lot of the same things apply.
Sure.
And then we're a nonprofit that focuses on revitalizing historic downtowns. So our work is just about keeping your downtown vibrant and alive through small businesses and local arts, and we run the farmers market, and we run a group of small shops, which is for kind of economic vitality in our community, and we do some placemaking events to try to make people feel like they're a part of the town and give them an opportunity to come and experience the town. So when that job was presenting to me and one of the directors there, that felt like a really nice synergy of kind of all of those things. And I had a real aha moment where I thought, oh yeah, like this all clicks together. And it also, I do quite, like I've said, quite a bit of marketing. So part of what I do for them is kind of all of the pretty pieces that make you want to come to town.
Yeah.
And so I've been able to kind of scratch the creative itch with that too.
I feel like it checks a lot of boxes.
It really does. And I get to wear a lot of different hats, which is very fun for me because, as I've said this whole time, it's like I don't like having one thing. So, I get to go in and one day just focus on design. And then, okay, the next day I'm just planning an event with the restaurants.
Yeah.
And then the next day I'm working with the small shops and talking about, how to eventually get into a brick and mortar, or what kind of, merchandising they have or whatever. And then, so there's a lot of different hats, and that's really fun. And then we're part of a national organization. And so to be able to get a little bit more involved with the organization nationally has been really cool too.
What's the difference? Like, what does that look like? Because, it's one thing to focus on your downtown or in your little town and really drive community, but what does it look like to be part of the national thing? Like, what's the benefit there, or what hand do they play?
So, it's very similar to Parks and Rec, and the national organization does a lot of the governmental work and helps with funding. They have a lot of grants and opportunities like that. And the connection piece is huge.
So you can apply for grant, literally like the show Parks and Rec, which I've seen a bunch.
Yeah.
So like if you have an idea for a project and you're like, this might be out of our scope, you can kind of then look at the federal level and be like, here's what we'd like to do in our town.
Sometimes it really depends.
Yeah.
And grant opportunities can come from all over. There's, but yes, sometimes yes is the answer. It's not a great answer. I think for me, the really nice thing about national, and there is a state organization as well, is that it just allows you to connect with directors doing the same thing in other communities and kind of like share ideas, share strategies. I recently got the opportunity to speak at the national conference in Alabama, and that was super fun because I had so many people from other towns, coming up to me and saying, wow, that idea you did was really cool. And like, they're now taking that back to Idaho, and that's really fun.
So because like in your life in general, as we've been discussing, you've done a lot of like bigger things that you don't really notice at your level because you're too busy doing them. Have you ever dealt with imposter syndrome?
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest time in my life when I felt that was when I wanted to leave my job and didn't know what to do.
And you're like, who am I to leave this perfect spot?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a tough call.
And I had several very sleepless nights when I was offered the job, my current job, where I felt like this is almost too risky for me because as many moms maybe or parents who are listening can probably relate to, it's really hard to strike a balance between home and work. And I felt like I had it.
Yeah.
And so for me to take that risk, especially when my kids are still so young, it felt like a real risk. It felt like...
Is that something you brought up in the interview process where you're like,
yes,
I have this
Yes.
Like, this is my biggest concern, realistically.
Yes.
Because I have this amazing balance that I've built over 20 years.
Yeah.
I can't give that up. What does it look like if I come here?
Yeah. I mean, I had some pretty stubborn boundaries because I was approached about working there.
Right.
I
feel like that changes your whole mindset,
There was
right?
a little bit of negotiation
Yeah.
still. Like, actually, there was quite a lot of negotiation still about what that actually looked like. And the job actually changed a little bit over the course of our discussions.
Yeah.
But I definitely had real, I guess, I don't want to say boundaries because that's not the right word. And I here's what I said, pretty much. I mean, to paraphrase, I know I can do the work.
Yeah.
And I said that knowing I didn't really know, actually. But Dan's always said to me, and this, I find this to be so reassuring, and like anyone that has imposter syndrome, I would say, like, you can learn anything.
Right.
And my husband is the best at reminding me of that. So when I'm questioning myself, he's like, well, okay, you are a competent person. You're smart. You're, whatever. He'll tell me all these things, and you can learn it. Like, if you don't know it, you don't have to know everything. And you can learn anything.
Yeah.
So I kind of would repeat that to myself, and I know my own work ethic. So what I think I said was, I will work super hard, and my work will always get done because that's just my personality.
Yeah.
But I need to be able to do it in my terms. And obviously, that's not a threat. It's like, but it just changes. It changes from day to day and what that looks like. And I'll be honest with you, I don't have the best balance every day. I mean, we've talked about this, like, with just my schedules. It's like, I feel like I have the best balance I can have right now with having young kids. Mm-hmm. But some days, like, my daughter's still only in school for a couple hours a day. So on the days when I'm working from home, I get on the computer in the morning for an hour, take her to school. I get back on for a couple hours, pick her up from school, have lunch, have a little walk or play with her. While she's doing her own thing, I get back on for a few hours. Then, oh no, I have to pick someone up from the bus or do whatever else. And I don't get back on until like 8 o'clock at night sometimes and have to finish things. So sometimes that just happens. But I think I feel lucky to have the opportunity to work that way. Yeah. And so again, I never feel like I'm not going to get it done.
Right. Well, I also think it's important to normalize that in where you can normalize that kind of work.
For sure.
As far as like to me, jobs should have childcare built in. And I think that eventually we'll start moving towards that in a realistic way as we can. But like also to be able to have these kind of positions where it's like, all right, I'm going to get the job done today, but this is what it's going to look like, a little bit here, a little bit there. I've got these other things to take care of.
Well, and it's also quality. I mean, I am proud of how hard I work, and I am proud of the quality of my work. And I have always told my employers too, it'll become very apparent to you if I'm not doing my work or the level of quality that you want, and then you should talk to me. 100%. I never want someone to be unhappy. So
have you ever checked out of a job? I mean, you haven't had a lot of jobs, but I feel like you're not a very checkout person. Like, by the time you even were thinking about checking out, you'd have been like, I have to move on now.
Yes and no. I think at the Park District, there were definitely times when I felt like I was going through the motions of that job.
Yeah, that makes sense because
I just knew it so well, and it's also a very cyclical position. So like you're planning for the next season, that season, and then you get into that season, you're planning for the next season, and those things all kind of repeat.
That was some of the most impressive shit I ever saw in my life, though. I remember when you used to have those giant binders. And I was like, oh yeah, where'd you get all this? And you're like, I wrote it all. I literally created. That was a huge change in my brain to be like, oh, Kristen's actually the real deal. Like, she doesn't just have some job where she goes in and works. Like, she's creating what's happening at this place, like word for word.
I mean, now it's all in Asana. I love I love a system. Again, it's like the same thing with high school, right? I like to feel like I'm using my time right. Yeah. I want to have time to chill. I want to have time to be with my kids. I want to have time to be with my husband. I want to have time to travel. I want to have time for all those things. And so when I'm working, I'm working. I don't do it halfways most of the time.
I feel like that's what's afforded you, because you guys do travel like at least twice a year.
Yeah.
Which is like not, especially now, not cheap. But you guys bust your asses and you get to live that life. Like that's
I mean, traveling for us is it's interesting because I think, when I was growing up, I kind of always wanted to, like I said, be a part of the world and see the world and do different things. And for me now, I feel so rooted where we are. And I feel like, especially in my job, I can't walk down the street without seeing 5 people I know in downtown. And it's so fun. Sometimes, most of the time it's fun. But I feel that sense of community so much that travel is, it's different. It's like,
you see other places different.
Yeah, it does. And it's like an escape, but also makes me crave that community again when I come home. Which is really fun. And I just think it is so important. We try really hard to, we don't live in the most diverse place. We don't have the most, we try, Sure. We thought about that. Like when we were trying to find a home, it was like we wanted some level of diversity. We wanted our kids to be surrounded by different types of people. But a lot of how we provide that.
The school's going to be, as they get into junior high, they're going to be very diverse. Because the school, like I worked in the Batavia junior high. So that's kind of where it becomes coming from a lot more places now. Instead of just downtown Batavia.
Oh, for sure.
You're getting them from North Aurora. You're getting them from, like all over.
Yes.
Yeah, so that'll be exciting.
Well, I think it is. I mean, I really do think that, seeing people that don't have the same life as you is so important. And that is what travel has been for me. It's such an eye-opener. It makes me appreciate the things I have. It makes me yearn for other things. It makes me, so exposing my kids to that is like not optional.
Right.
It's just, I want them. Yeah. So I'm so excited to do, they've been a lot of places, but I'm so excited to even do some more really, like Ollie's like such an adventurer. He loves if you tell him we're going on an adventure, we're going to explore, whatever, he gets so excited. So, we really want to take them to Vietnam, and that's probably my number 1 bucket list.
Really?
Trip
Vietnam?
with them. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It's a beautiful place.
It is a beautiful place. That's true. And
I think it will be a huge culture shock for my kids. Dan has been at least once, maybe more. So he knows, he's had that experience. I have never been. It's been very high on my list. And I think that'll be really interesting because we've seen a lot of Europe and.
Have you guys been to India?
I have not, no.
I feel like India would be an awesome one too. I've always wanted to go to India.
He has? I can't keep up with him.
He's been all over the world.
He's been almost everywhere in existence, I think.
And he refuses to tell us about it.
He'll tell you, just not here.
He won't let it be recorded.
He has some stories, but so that would be high for me. I just want them to see as much as possible, and really understand in that way what life is about. And figure it out for themselves.
Well, it gives you appreciation of what you have.
For sure.
And also it gives you an understanding of not everybody has these opportunities that we've been afforded. And help where you can. I think that's really good.
And we talk about my job a lot and volunteering a lot and being a part of the community a lot. and why that's important.
Yeah.
And I really hope if like my kids take away anything from me, it's that, you know, you have to be invested and involved, like to see the change that you want.
Yeah.
You know, I just hate like now there's so many people online that are like, you know, they're going to complain about everything, right?
Sure, but now we get to be, we'll take another cliche, be the change you want to see in the world.
100%. But it is true, like, or just get involved.
Yeah.
Like, it is not hard. And I think,
especially if you're going to bitch about it, like
correct.
You're just alluding to, a lot of people bitch
yeah,
and do nothing.
Right.
And then wonder why nothing's changing.
Right. Or have any interest in understanding.
Right, yeah.
Why things are the way they are. You know, I think another part of kind of why I enjoy my work so much is because during COVID, I felt like I can be very black and white with my feelings, and I felt like that was a very isolating time, and politically in the country, it was a very isolating time, and you felt like everything was so divided, and you know, it was really like us versus them.
Yeah.
It felt like that to me.
I like that you're alluding to it's not like that now.
I'm not saying that.
Sure.
But what I'm saying is there was a shift for me personally, because that was unhealthy for me to be there mentally. Because I was getting depressed.
Yeah.
And I was feeling like, especially having young kids, I was like...
I actually remember you and I had a particular phone call years ago when I was starting where it was the only time we really talked about the political landscape, and we're like, this is wild.
Yeah.
And because it's affecting you on such a different level.
Yeah. And I remember feeling like just kind of sick to my stomach a lot. And like, just like people... And I think... if all I did, and this is what I did because it was COVID and whatever, is like listen to the news or listen to my podcasts and be in my own head about these people and my people or this and that, whatever it is. And how can people think so differently than each other? And it just felt so divided. And I remember then starting to talk to people face to face again, and not necessarily about things that were happening politically, but knowing they probably think differently than me, or but all of a sudden it didn't seem so divisive or something. Is that the right word? I don't know. Like, it didn't feel so like life and death. I felt like in the moment, in the heat of it felt so horrible. Yeah. And when I wasn't seeing real people. And then all of a sudden when I was like in my community with real people, having conversations about, even if it's just the weather, whatever, it's still like people are people. And they might be a bad person. I don't know. But
well, they might be misinformed. I don't
I'm
know that anybody is going to choose to be bad.
Right. Well, I guess what I took away from that was that human connection for me and community, again, coming back to that is the value to me. Is we can all get around a table like how it used to be. Like, you know, where all of a sudden it's like kind of doesn't matter what your opinions are. I mean, obviously, if you're like just outright racist in my face, I'm going to feel differently.
If you're a sack of shit, you're a sack of shit.
Yes. But I think that at the end of the day, we all have the same issues and things and whatever. And I had to see real people and be with them in community to feel like, oh, the world is, these things suck and they still suck, but it's not as bad as it feels when I'm just in my house by myself.
Right. Well, and I think too, a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to my friend Nikki, and we were working very hard to not get into the political weeds. Yeah. But we were just like, it feels like people are identifying their personality to a party over the last 20 years, and they've lost who they are because when you talk the community you're talking about, those things melt away because they don't actually matter. They're important every 4 years for a couple of weeks, but they don't define who we are as individuals. because there's too many things, too many boxes to check that nobody falls into one thing solely.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy if we did. Like, so it's nice to get back to community and kind of remind yourself that these other things exist, but they're not a focus. They can melt away, and people genuinely care about each other. I 100% believe that instinctually people love each other and care about each other and want to help each other. Despite the numerous things that might counteract that argument, I think that that's human nature to its core. Like anytime something goes wrong, people are right there, like looking to help, like nobody asks, well, what are your political leanings before I help you? Like, no, we're here to help. We're here to take care of each other. The rest of it melts away at some point somewhere. So all that matters is that connection, which I think is amazing. Like, it's amazing that you get to do that. It's amazing you get to focus on that and build that.
Yeah.
What do you suppose is next for the family, for yourself, for the community?
Oh, that's a small question.
Yeah, please answer it fast.
Do you want to get out of here or what?
I don't. I would sit here all day.
I don't know. That is the hardest question for me because I think I never really know. I am still always kind of like, I just go with what feels right. It sounds so, silly, but
it sounds so not planned.
I don't really have a big plan.
Yeah.
I think
your job will love hearing that.
Yeah. I mean, I like it now. Like, no, I do. And I think that I have a lot of plans at work.
Sure.
And things that I want to accomplish there before,
are you creating, like, I know you said marketing and stuff, but like you're implementing new ideas also.
100%.
Of like things that haven't been seen or tried. Like you said, you got to do that in Alabama on a large scale.
Yeah. So we just added, we added a Wednesday night farmers market this year. Like, again, the intention behind that, it seems simple, but we have a huge Saturday farmers market. It's a beautiful market. We added the Wednesday night because we're trying to get people downtown on a Wednesday and during the week,
Yeah. Well, usually a farmer's market's hard to get to because of the time in the day. It's usually earlier. So it's funny too because it seems like so, not to dismiss it, but it seems so stupid. Like, oh, we just put another farmer's market Wednesday night. It's a huge deal.
It is.
It's actually a huge, especially like for the community. And like myself, I could never get to a normal farmer's market, and I would love to be able to get to one.
Yeah, it's big. I mean, well, there's just a lot. Yeah, there are a lot of logistical things. I mean, I think that my strengths in my current role are because I haven't always lived in town. And because of my former work, and I think I see things a little bit differently. So I definitely came in, thankfully, to another director who was very receptive to me and wanted to work with me. But I mean, I had a lot of questions like, well, why is that done that way? We're losing money on that. Why don't we do this? How could we do that? Like, why shouldn't we?
That's a tough balance and line to walk to when you're the new person.
But she's amazing, too. And we just have hit it off.
When even you can see them and they're like, damn it, you're right.
Yes. Well, but sometimes when you're in the weeds of it, you don't see that. And so for the last 2 years, I've been like, yeah, maybe this should be different. Should we try this different? And I think, what I try to, and obviously we try to tread lightly with it because there are community institutions that, people hold really dear. And it's not to say that anyone did anything wrong before. Yeah. It's just that I shouldn't be dealing with the same problems or just like re-rolling the same events or whatever year after year after year. I mean, that gets very stagnant. So, just kind of like having a fresh set of eyes on it and creating new programs and initiatives, and we've done a lot of that already, and I'm excited for a lot of the plans for the future. So work-wise, I'm very excited. It's hard work. It's hard. Yeah. But it's super rewarding too, and especially having the opportunity to live in the community and seeing some of those changes happen has been cool.
That's what I say. It's nice. It's one of those, like, you can look at analytics.
Yeah.
But it's another thing, like, it's something you can see and feel.
Yeah.
Just in the community.
Yeah, and like my favorite thing is like going to my son's baseball games or something and hearing a group of parents talk about like, oh, have you been to the boardwalk shops this year? They're so cool, and this, that, and the other.
Do you ever walk by and you're like, you're welcome?
I don't. I should. No, but I think, that makes me feel proud. Yeah. To think, oh, they have pride in this thing in our community.
Right.
They think this is special, and, we've done something to create that. So, and as far as my family goes, Lord knows, we are going to South Dakota.
Nice.
In a couple weeks.
That's exciting.
And we're getting ready for a busy summer at home with the kids, and hopefully I'll just put this into the universe so it happens. Maybe Italy next year, where I'm trying to get my parents to come too.
That would be awesome. You've been to Italy though, right?
I've been to Rome, yes.
Okay, because didn't you meet Laura there?
And Vicky.
Our friends from Germany.
Yes. So the first trip when I went out to see Dan, I met Laura and Vicky in Rome.
I love them.
On that trip.
They're amazing.
Because they are amazing, and we had an amazing time in Rome. It was so fun. We stayed in this Airbnb above like an Italian restaurant. It's like so cool. Like such like a weird like just I don't know, when I think about like a story of some girls in their young 20s like traveling around the world. It was just like such a picturesque setting. But no, we had a great time. But yeah, that trip I went to Rome. So it's been a while since I've been, but we'd like to take the kids and just kind of travel around a little bit. And my parents have wanted to go for a long time, so I'm hoping that we can get them to come too. And
that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So we'll see. But that's the plan.
It's a pretty good plan. I mean, I'm feeling pretty satisfied here. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
You're done? He's like, I'm done with you. No,
we covered
a lot.
Yeah, so we covered your whole life. It was as awesome as I thought it would be. Like, you've done amazing things. You're continuing to do amazing things.
That's nice.
I've always wanted to live out in the Batavia, Geneva area.
Yeah.
So like it's incredibly uplifting and exciting to be close friends with the person who's like creating the community.
That's nice.
So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a special place. There is something special about it here, and I think Geneva's so cool and so established.
Yeah.
And the thing I love about Batavia is that it's not it's cool. We're so artsy and we're so different. It's like a little bit more bohemian is probably not the right word. I think artsy. And just like a little bit more kind of accessible, like less pretentious, like a little bit less, not pretentious. Okay, shut up. Cut it. No, cut it. No, not pretend. But but 3rd Street is beautiful.
Oh yeah.
But 3rd Street is bougie.
You can 100% feel like if Geneva was a person, they'd be like, we do it a little different than Batavia.
It's just like they are just more established, and it's more, and it's just.
It is bougie.
It's a little bit bougie, right?
And I don't mean that negative either, because I enjoy this kind of bougie. But you're 100% right. Downtown Batavia does feel more just easily accessible. Batavia is the kind of town you want to have a beer with.
Yeah, and we're still beautiful. We're still cool. We still have the river. Yeah. We still have amazing. We have an amazing comedy club. We have some great restaurants. We now have 2 cool breweries. We have a winery.
Yeah.
We have the boardwalk shops, which are incredible. We have a lot of great retail. So
speaking of the comedy club there, this isn't your first podcast. This is probably your 3rd by now.
Yeah.
Because you're just over here being a star. You got to be on Dave Koechner's, the comedian Dave Koechner. If you don't know who that is, you're a jerk, because Dave Koechner is amazing. But you got to be on his podcast. Yeah,
yet to be released, I believe. I don't know. This was, I don't know. He might have cut me. Yes, that was we were very fortunate, and he performs at the Comedy Club in Batavia.
Did you see his set?
I
saw him last time before.
Okay, I did not see it this time.
Because the set is amazing. I mean, it's a smaller club, so it's a lot more crowd work, and it's not like going to like an actual like auditorium to see a specific show.
Yeah.
It's very small, and I prefer that.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
feel like that's when you get to really see a comedian's chops.
Yeah.
Or when he's taking the piss out of an audience.
Yeah, he's super funny. I had a great time talking to him. Yeah, it was cool. It was
You guys
a cool
do the same thing
experience.
where you just kind of talked about the town, building community, and
Yes.
like you know, getting into that on his show, because you said that was the crux of his show.
Yes, I don't want to speak for David,
Yeah.
my dear friend.
No. You guys go way back.
Yeah, we're good friends, and I don't want to, take any of his credit here, but I believe, because I have yet to hear the episode, but I do believe that the podcast is going to be centered around him traveling around the U.S.
Yeah.
And the small towns that he comes across on his travels, and kind of he like talks to the mayors in town and talks to like different like community builders and people in town about the town and why it is the way it is, and just like interesting tidbits and history and that sort of thing.
I think it sounds like an awesome show. It's just funny that it started in Batavia.
Yes, yeah. So that was his first, I believe, that was the first recording that he did. So that was cool to be a part of, and hopefully he'll put it out one day.
Hopefully, or maybe he listened back to you and was like, this is a bad idea.
Unusable. This is unusable.
And weren't you on another podcast too?
Yes, I was on, Batavia has a podcast. It's not Batavia owned, but we have a great community member who puts a podcast out called Area Code Batavia. Now I'm just doing plugs for people, and
that's good though. Like it's
a great podcast. Yeah. I would highly recommend anyone listening to it if they're in the area, because he interviews local business owners, and you do get a good feel for what the town is all about. And I do think that makes Batavia really unique, is that we have this network of small business owners that are so connected. I have not experienced that in other places.
Yeah.
And it makes you want to support them. And so, if you haven't been to Batavia for a while, I recommend coming. And
this is a good commercial for Batavia.
This is a good commercial. It's great. It's so fun. And but yeah, and also get to know your local business owners. If
I was hoping that was more of the commercial, would be get involved in your community.
Yeah.
Because this is not
also
unique.
Come to Batavia. I would like more people just, shop and spend your money there. But
what you've created is not unique to Batavia. You've done it in an amazing, unique way, in your way. But everybody, if you can get involved in their community and build something just as beautiful.
100%. And I also think if you're feeling that feeling of what's it all about? I feel, depressed, disconnected. It's easy to feel that way in our world.
Yeah.
And, for various reasons, we talked about politics and whatever, but I think, with your phones and anything else, it's very easy to feel that way. And so I just really recommend and you can start small, but go to the same coffee shop a few times a week and just say good morning. That's really all it takes. When someone starts to say, oh, hey, Kristen, do you want a, latte with oat milk? That feels special. And whether or not you recognize that, it will start to feel special to you. And I think having those connections is just huge. So that would be my recommendation. And shop small, because small businesses are dying. And it's important. It's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a good place then. Shop small. This has been a beautiful commercial for Batavia and a slight commercial for your life, which has been amazing. Thank you so much for finding the time. It means the world to me that we were able to do this. I love talking to you. I love seeing you. I love the family. Man, sometimes I think your life is too good. But
we didn't touch on any of the bad stuff. I could throw that in there another time, but
did you want to spend an hour talking about the bad stuff? Yeah,
I thought that's what this was. No, but I just but it's important. I think it is important to say everyone's life is their own journey, and there's messiness, and I think I'm excited to.
I'm hoping that people don't listen to this and they're like, oh, she never had anything bad in her life. What I'm hoping is that they're like, you've been through enough ugliness.
Yeah.
That what we talked about is way more important.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, those things might be a setback or a footnote, but this is the real value of what you've been through.
Yeah.
And the you're living the you've harvested all the seeds you've planted.
So this is coming back to the farmer's market and Wednesdays and Saturdays and don't know. Yeah, definitely. I think that's very true. So no, it's been a pleasure. I think we've outlasted the rain, which was threatening to kill us moments ago. So it was really nice being here. I appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.